Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate the good comments from the member from the 44th District, and I consider her a good friend and a dear friend, and we've worked really well on traffic safety things over the last few years. Before I get into my comments, I do want to thank the chair of the committee, and what a joy and honor it has been to work with him closely on the budget the last 3 years. And I've always found the committee as itself is a very lighthearted and great committee to be a part of, but in the budget cabinet meetings have been just really well run, really well organized, and I've always felt respected being in the minority party. I've always felt like my view was welcomed and that I could have a voice in this budget process. And this year was no different. It was definitely been a very challenging year. We did set up some guidelines on how to approach the budget, and I felt like the chair was consistent all the way through. Obviously, we've put a striking amendment on this, so it's not the bill that came over from the other body. This is the bill that's been reflected in the work done here in this body. I find this one to be a lot more conservative, a lot more better for the taxpayers of the state of Washington. It's not as tax heavy as what came over here from the other body. And so I am going to ask for a yes vote on this bill. It's not an easy yes. There are projects in my district that are not funded. If you go up I-5 through Snohomish County, we have one bridge in the 39th district that crosses I-5, 156 in Marysville. That particular bridge has a crossing, a railroad crossing. That particular project isn't funded in this. So it does make it uncomfortable sometimes asking for a yes vote when you see things like that. But there's other projects. If you look in Skagit County, all the 39th district projects are funded, which is great. A lot of other good projects in the 39th district. But this morning, as I left my house at 8 o'clock this morning to come to work from Lake Stevens, I got about 5 miles from my house and I started sitting in traffic on Highway 9. As I sat in traffic just past the roundabout coming into Snohomish, everything was stopped. I knew I had to speak today. I knew I had to be here by 10:30, and then you start sweating and you start getting nervous. As I'm stopped there, here comes the aid car. Here comes the fire truck. Here comes the state patrol. And all headed towards the Snohomish River Bridge, $142 million project that is supposed to start this fall. That has moved in this budget and pushed out. I had to turn around on the highway, cut through the city of Snohomish. I got here at 10:25 this morning, right before 10:30, 2.5 hour commute. I desperately want to see that project in the 44th district completed, as people have been waiting for that. You're going to see with our caucus, you're going to see a mixed vote on this, because some of the projects like Highway 12, which I think is so needed down in Walla Walla, and I've driven that stretch several times, that needs to be done, and it's not getting done. And if I lived in that district, I'd be voting no. I really would. It's not easy. This process, this budget is not an easy process. But again, I think the chair has done a great job with that. As we look at the budget as a whole, we see $5 billion in projects that are going to be continued on, that are going to go forward. I think that's a great thing. You're going to see $1.5 billion in preservation and maintenance, which is so needed. And I hear all the time about taking care of our roads and making sure that is well taken care of. As I alluded to the 44th district, the traffic safety cameras and work zones, you're going to see $10.6 million for that. So needed. That's something that unifies all of us when it comes to highway safety and our traffic workers, and making sure that they can go home to their families every night like each and every one of us get to. You'll see the Washington State ferries, $1.9 billion in this budget, with 1.1 for capital improvements. And I actually think a great compromise in going to hybrid ferries instead of putting all of our eggs in a basket on the electric ferries. And that will happen at some point, I'm sure. But I think we need to give relief to all of our communities along Puget Sound that need to get back and forth as they commute to work, or they commute home if they're in Orcas Island or San Juan Islands, Whidbey Island. Those are very needed things, and this budget addresses that. And so I'm very, very appreciative of that. I think one of the things that speaks to me the most in this budget is our investment in the State Patrol. $777 million invested into our State Patrol, including $3 million for the toxicology lab processing when it comes to DUI cases. We've seen a great roadblock in this area where it's taking up to 9 or 10 months on just DUI cases, up to 21 months when it comes to drugs and alcohol mixed in. And, there's only a 2-year statute of limitations. And so we're seeing people who are driving under the influence having their cases dismissed, having people not being prosecuted for violating this area of our law and doing this multiple times before they can be in court. And so there's going to be investments in this, and I think that's a great thing. We're also going to see $3 million for our RV disposals that have been abandoned along our highways. That's going to be so needful, so important. And the last two things I want to highlight is $106 million for the crab board. That's in here. Our county roads. That's going to help our local projects, making sure that our local roads are taken care of so people can get to the interstate, so they can get to our highways. And then $315 million for the State Transportation Improvement Board, which also helps our counties and helps our cities. So there's a lot of great things in this budget. It is the more conservative budget of the two. That's why I can recommend a cautious yes vote on this. And again, I want to thank the good chair. I want to thank the ranking member for all of his many, many hours in this and working with the chair on this budget. And then my fellow committee members in the Transportation Committee and in the leadership as we've worked for many, many, many hours on this. And so with that, I'm going to cautiously ask for a yes vote today. Thank you.